Today we're going to talk about Azure Lane, the franchise about warships that are also anime girls. The series started as a 2D shoot-'em-up gacha game on mobile platforms and eventually got an anime adaptation. That is currently available on Crunchyroll and Funimation if you'd like to watch it. Releasing between the two is what we're going to talk about today, bringing the franchise into the 3D shooter realm. Here is my review of Azure Lane Crosswave for the Nintendo Switch. Now, before we begin talking about the story, it is important to note that Azure Lane does not have continuity connections between its three mediums. The mobile game, anime, and Crosswave have the same basic premise, but exist in their own separated continuities. That premise having Earth invaded by powerful aliens called Sirens. In response to the invasion, the world's four superpowers develop a countermeasure, humanoid beings that carry with them the firepower and equipment of high-tech warships. The story of Crosswave centers around Saruga and Shimakaze, new recruits to the Sakura Empire. After being ambushed by Sirens during a training exercise, they find themselves in the middle of a strange event with all four of the world's nations regarding mysterious cube-shaped objects that were found at the battle site. Now, despite this being in a separated timeline, I would still recommend coming into Crosswave with knowledge of the characters. Many of them are introduced in a very quick manner and feel they are little more than a cosmetic avatar rather than a great character you use because you love their personality. Shimakaze and Saruga are new and do get a lot of character development, but they are pretty much the only ones that do in the main story. Outside of that, the story is pretty decent. There's a good bit of comedy thrown in, and it even pokes fun at the franchise with a scene showcasing some of the ship girls playing a gacha game. When it comes to gameplay, Crosswave is a 3D arena shooter with RPG elements. Now, first of all, the Nintendo Switch version of Crosswave has some DLC already built in. The Taiho and Formidable DLC characters and story episodes are already here. We also got the Neptunia DLC, but in a swimsuit costume variant versus her default costume like the PS4 version got. It's also a limited free download, only available until mid-March 2021. Now, when you dive into the game, you have access to Story Mode, which has you navigating a 2D map to spark story scenes and battle events as you trek through each chapter. This 2D map is a throwback to the visuals of the mobile game and lets you do something outside of just managing your fleet and fighting battles. Speaking of, you can access the shops and dock from the map screen. Dock gives you access to the roster of characters. You unlock more as you go through each story chapter, eventually giving you access to over 60 different ship girls across playable characters and supporting roles. The characters also tie into fighting, the biggest aspect of the game. Your group of characters are spawned in a small 3D area with you flying around on the water, shooting at planes, ships, and other ship girls. You can swap between your three playable characters at any time of the mission, and each one has two weapons they can equip that regenerate ammo automatically. Your goal is to quickly fly around avoiding bullets while using those weapons and rechargeable skills to take out every adversary of the stage. All of the weapons and skills are flashy and fun, though the system does have some flaws. Let's start by talking about the AI. Your companion AI will fight alongside you, but only if you're fighting at the same time. If you start firing upon enemies, they will do the same, but if you stand there and don't do anything, they will literally stand right next to you and do absolutely nothing. This also turns into a bit of a downside when it comes to the enemy AI. Since everything seems to be stemmed from the character you're playing as, the enemy doesn't really target your companions. In a bunch of stages I played, I actually tested this. All enemies focused on only the character that I was controlling, and when they were about to die and I switched characters, the target immediately became the new character I was controlling. There's also the lack of uniqueness between the characters. Every character is divided into a class of ship, and each class does feel different than the others. Javelin is a destroyer much faster and more rapid fire than the battleship Hood, who focuses more on slow movement and heavy firepower. The issue here is that everyone of each class feels pretty much the same as everybody else in that class. Javelin and Shimakaze are both destroyers and feel exactly the same when firing their weapons, despite one carrying a spear and one a sword. This will be even more apparent to watchers of the anime, and maybe this is because the anime technically came out a few months after Crosswave. After all, when I saw Unicorn for the first time in-game, I was so used to seeing her riding on that big apricorn in the anime that it just felt wrong to see her without it. Let alone the aircraft carriers that actually have weapons like Enterprise's giant bow, yet in combat all she really does is launch airplanes. Now, getting out of all these comparisons, when you end each battle you are rewarded with materials, items, and experience points. Your party can level to get stronger, and points from the missions are used to recruit new characters. You can repeat every mission as well, so if you just unlocked someone you really want into your party, you can literally just go into mission 1 of that chapter and repeat it over and over until you've got enough points to buy them. The game even encourages this, as when you complete a mission you've already completed, you get a little prompt saying, hey, would you like to fight this foe again? Allowing you to skip going back to the map screen and right back into the mission. The only thing you have to watch out for when recruiting characters is the fact that when you go into a story battle against ships you've recruited, you're not allowed to use those ships in your party for that battle. The materials and items, on the other hand, are used in the shops and dock to upgrade your character's skills and equipment. There are tons of different weapons that you can equip to all of the different character classes, so you'll definitely want to grab a lot of materials to do those upgrades. This gameplay loop is fun with story mode, but you'll also unlock extreme battle and episodes on the main menu. These can be done as you go through story mode, but also give you a lot to do in the post game, with extreme battle offering over 100 extra stages to play and over 60 episode scenarios showcasing characters from the game in slice of life scenarios. Though that leaves us with the most important feature for the post game. Not episodes, not extreme battle. The most important part of the post-game is clearly proposing to and marrying the ship girls that talk to you on the main menu. While it is a bit of an end goal sort of thing that you're going to be spending a lot of time to unlock, it's really neat to be able to build up that affinity and propose to your favorite girl, even if all you really get out of it are some stat boosts and a change in how she talks to you on the menu. Speaking of putting in a lot of time, let's talk about content and length. The main story of Crosswave isn't super long, but episodes and marriage can really rack up the hours. To give you an example, I cleared the initial story onto the normal difficulty in around 12 hours, with me beating the post-game final boss and marrying Hood after playing for around 18 hours. While watching all of the optional episodes can easily add a good 5 to 10 hours on top of that, there's a good amount of stuff here even for those that just want to beat the story and get married. When it comes to presentation, the game looks pretty decent visually. There are some jaggies on the models, but the fast-paced nature of the shooting makes this not too noticeable outside of the end mission cinematics. When it comes to performance, it is pretty smooth overall. There are some FPS drops when there are a lot of models on screen, but for the most part, this is probably the most stable Switch game Idea Factory has made so far. And with that out of the way, let's dive into battery life. On the original model, Crosswave has a battery range of 2 hours and 37 minutes up to 3 hours and 20 minutes. On the Nintendo Switch Lite, it has a range of 2 hours and 41 minutes up to 3 hours and 24 minutes. And on the Redboxer V2 2019 model, it has a range of 4 hours and 55 minutes up to 5 hours and 23 minutes. In conclusion, Crosswave comes to the Switch in one of Idea Factory's best optimized games to date. Now on the downside, the game doesn't do many of the characters justice if you're not already familiar with them, and many don't feel very unique outside of what they look like. That aside, it's still a neat and flashy shooter about ship girls you can fight off aliens with and marry in the post-game. Reviews to go, rates Azure Lane Crosswave for the Nintendo Switch a 7 out of 10. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them below. Thank you for watching and have a great day.